Yesterday we got into this discussion. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but it is interesting, is that there is a reason with most first-round quarterbacks, they get drafted because they have, it's not about their college stats, it's about their traits. If you're drafting a college quarterback based on stats, it's Tim Tebow, you're a hack, you should be fired. Like, you draft quarterbacks based on size. One of the reasons I always like Sam Darnold. Big, thick, athletic, big arm, coachable, great traits. The minute he got to Carolina at the end, Minnesota, Seattle, he wins 75% of his games. Kyler Murray's not big, but he was a number one pick, and I know the GM that drafted him, Steve Keim's a buddy. He had great traits. He was the best high school football player ever out of Texas. He's incredibly elusive, and he's like Russell Wilson, but more athletic. He could have been a baseball player in the bigs, throws a great ball, but he's small. But what happens, and we see this now regularly in the NFL, if you get bad ownership, chaos, wrong coach, bad O-lines, quarterbacks can look really bad. And I was saying this yesterday. If you put Matt Stafford and Kyler Murray together, now think about this. Stafford has had 5 years of McVay, great ownership, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, great running backs, top tight end groups. And yet, Kyler Murray, who's had one Pro Bowler ever for a year that was a Pro Bowler on the O-line, ownership shaky, front office now, yikes, average rosters, Kyler Murray not only has the same passer rating, a significantly higher completion percentage, and much more athletic and elusive than Stafford. And we all know Stafford's going to the Hall of Fame. So do I think Kyler Murray's better than Stafford? No, I think Stafford's better. But it shows you, and Matt Stafford, by the way, had Calvin Johnson. Like outside of Randy Moss, probably the best college receiver I ever saw play. So my take isn't that Kyler Murray's going to be a Hall of Famer. It's that he was a distracted guy from baseball to video games, went to a bad organization that didn't have kind of the ability to get his act right? Like, he is one of those guys that will be as good as where he lands. Now, there are guys like Andrew Luck or Josh Allen. They're going to win everywhere. There's guys like Fernando Mendoza. He's going to be ethical, good kid, work ethic everywhere. May not be great. Kyler's one of those guys, to me, that's very dependent on landing spot.
I mean, you see, at the core of everything, truly every quarterback is, you see, reliant on just how good you might be, whether you're capable of securing Super Bowls or not. Where you end up matters, but using general metrics such as broad completion percentage and passer rating and pitting quarterbacks against each other utilizing this very generic, hazy outlook is really a pointless exercise. It's a totally pointless exercise when one considers teams, snorts, that have their quarterbacks performing vastly different roles with vastly different teams. Even comparing somewhat distinct periods of time when considering the amount of time Stafford played with the Lions and the manner in which the game of football was being played at that point. Stafford hasn't exactly experienced like a countless number of different football generations like Tom Brady, but he's certainly been through at least 2 distinct NFL eras without a doubt. And it's the same rationale that enables us to examine stats and observe things like, hey, wow, Geno Smith has a great completion percentage, and Tua has the NFL's 5th best passer rating, is that correct? And you're just kind of sitting there, saying to yourself, okay, so what exactly do we do with that data, right? And that kind of thing with those figures, those kind of instances. I even created a video, maybe around last summer, I don't recall exactly when, in which I took a little bit of a deeper delve into how we show LDB evaluating quarterbacks in reality, and how do we explain away quarterbacks that we are aware aren't that great? Like it's something we all concur on, right? It's not the same as us attempting to debate who's better, like discussing Lamar or Josh. It's not one of those discussions, but more like when we are aware that we don't believe this quarterback is elite, yet he holds a greater passer rating than a quarterback we all clearly know is much better, correct? And a higher, it's what are we supposed to make of things like these, alright? How can we reasonably interpret it? And there's arguably no easy solution unless you're literally watching the game film and breaking down every play. This describes why stats are useful, as I can easily cite the stats of this quarterback from the past 3 seasons, right? And that's why I often only concentrate on recent events alone, alright? In some instances, it makes sense to go back a bit further based on the nature of the discussion for any particular reason, given the discussion we're planning to engage in. But as a general guideline, like I only ever look back a couple of years, maybe a few years. It varies based on the discussion that's happening, but speaking in terms of what I feel, and I've expressed concerns regarding not complaints about Matthew Stafford at all, but I've emphasized Matthew Stafford's lack of success with Detroit and his relative lack of successes when it came to playoff games right up to his arrival at Sean McVay with the Rams. I cite this as a reference to illustrate the fact that, hey, regardless of your level of talent, you continue to need supportive infrastructure. And that is somewhat in direct opposition to Colin's assessment over here. He's basically saying that some quarterbacks work wherever you want. It is a yes and no situation. Stafford had always been a talented quarterback, but obtaining Super Bowls and securing all these playoff game victories means you need some key supporting players like the Pukas and Cooper Kupps, along with having Sean McVays, and so forth. Therefore, I truly, snorts, feel like we need to be very mindful of how we're approaching some of these comparisons. And I won't claim to have all the insights sorted out since it is complex. I'm aware beyond any uncertainty that Matthew Stafford is without a doubt, significantly a bigger talent. Yes, I am stating that he's far more talented than Kyler Murray. And I'm unmoved by completion percentage or pass ratings that may show me from the time in Detroit as compared with Arizona, or truly any other analytics Colin made use of there. I'm just unaffected as I'm using what I observe from watching the games or plays, the level of skill needed for the throws, the kinds of play, etc. Besides, a thing with an individual similar to Stafford is the point that Stafford is truly a pocket passer, correct? He exclusively throws from within the pocket, therefore, unless you have the ill coach coupled with some high-quality receivers, you will never truly maximize your potential. And early in his career when football wasn't quite played like it is now, I'm pretty confident those throws he was delivering and the things he was executing has similarity to basketball where like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, were never always finding an open pass, they'd just shoot whenever. This shot selection was something completely different and it was just yep keep shooting like it was some kind different style so to compare those really has no sense. I'd argue football shows several resemblances within the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and on, which I state currently features something akin to what we're seeing here wherein this simply fails as a comparable analysis in today's NFL at large. Therefore, I'd simply like to emphasize again my thoughts, and perhaps share what was brought up whenever we discussed Kyler Murray potentially going to Minnesota just now. Kyler will improve if he does come to Minnesota. Undeniably, that is my genuine belief, but this may not be a radical adjustment from my perspective. Will potentially unbelievably thrilling instances combined with periods of time where it feels like everything is working unfold? Times when you're thinking, my goodness, this could actually be feasible. My personal expectation is definitely that. Actually, that is how I feel when occasionally observing Dak Prescott compete. I'm by no means attacking Dak in any way. I'm simply citing my own analysis of Dak over the years as a baseline. There are instances when Dak is playing and I think to myself that guy is a truly awesome quarterback. I think he is a top quarterback. Then I see other times where I'm lost at what you were trying to accomplish just now. There's absolutely nothing we're ever going to be able to win with Dak at the helm. We will have zero chance to regularly succeed with Dak piloting the ship. It's just that he will execute amazing plays while simultaneously failing to make the simplest easy ones. He has his excellent moments along with some terrible moments. Regardless of any misconceptions, there is some level of validity on this for all quarterbacks. You can look at Stafford, or Mahomes, or Josh Elmer. Numerous plays are going to happen when you're instantly thinking that the play that was just run was bad or spectacular. The overall picture hinges on the quality of a player's great and terrible play ratio, correct? It ultimately adds up. There was consistent amazing potential with Kyler because the athlete he is brings that. That player brings promise. However, when evaluating an offense headed by Kevin Unal, you should expect to maintain a streamlined, efficient playbook. However, it will operate under tight frameworks and will generally go on as it should. That does not describe the play style of Kyler Murray and is not what he does. It's akin to Russell Wilson as a comparison. T may have occurred last year, not the year before. Likely, it was closer to now that Russ was experiencing growth playing with the Steelers. At that time, Gay Coel made the observation that Russ had never become a rhythm or a timing-based player. That's simply not how he plays kind of thing. It's readily apparent how his game was surpassed as one notices the manner in which offenses began and the way offensive coordinators started drawing up plays, emphasizing the need for all the above-mentioned elements. You've got to be able to get by with your athleticism, and once this starts to deteriorate there is somewhat nowhere else to go. The additional structure and ease in which they participate in that arrangement provides even greater results. I can say that is presently what brings the largest level of reservation about Kyler Murray, asking him to adjust in an approach that's truly unfamiliar for him and ultimately reduces the performance level of the offense and minimizes the capabilities of Kevin O'Neill's grand design. It shows how Sam Darnold may exhibit the possibility of a large degree of results as he is capable of playing within the structure. He knows how. That explains the almost instantaneous link he demonstrated with Kevin O'Connell, similar what occurred with Clint Kubiak, and others. And it again implies, obviously, situations when you're going to witness Kyler Murray somehow save this drive or play, etc., moments where the tide could have changed due to K. Ealer. You are probably heading that way for sure. To be fair, which is acceptable in the short run, my analysis of the Minnesota Vikings considers the grand scheme of things. They are not merely attempting to steer the course, just get back in the race in short. It involves organizing themselves for the prospect of a Super Bowl. They are attempting to position the team to easily conquer their own division. The end game is not simply presenting a more exciting showing and becoming a relevant competitor. Some teams simply compete. They're just solid competitors. It's interesting that they qualify for the playoff round. In that regard, there should be some amount of intrigue for the Minnesota Vikings as they try to incorporate Kyler Murray. No doubt. Still, in terms of my beliefs, I'm failing to categorize them through that expectation. When considering all the time, energy invested into building an already robust franchise, combined with my appreciation of for both key playmakers and management, plus the addition of Brian Flores, how could they not? With regards to Super Bowl positioning and eventual victory, the correct moves are needed. Through it all, I question Kyler Murray's potential. As such, Snorts, I have this feeling, again, not attempting to correlate any particular player. Simply, the experience in watching, especially when reminded of Dak, however a comparison with Baker Mayfield may also serve, wherein one cannot deny periods where you are thinking okay, yeah man. He is legit. You've just seen genuine greatness. Then we might quickly be reverted as you see the exact player who you were previously questioning. For moments, one might be fooled by the potential. Furthermore, it is just where Kyler Murray is. Yeah, this applies Baker Mayfield well. Maybe Geno Smith from prior. His luster has dimmed a touch. And we may have thought the same with Sam Darnold as well though. We had to let him show he didn't come up short. And he succeeded. He came on through. And let's say those are the thoughts of Kyler Murray in the future, but the bigger point is how, let's be honest, how much has Kyler evolved as a quarterback just over the previous years as a result, is heavily reliant on how the magic appears to be, his athleticism among other bits. That's an obvious limitation in the NFL. And what would his partnership with Kevin O'Neill provide? Can it work? Here's the bottom line, one aspect of Kevin O'Neill's special approach, what gives him his great edge as a coach of great attacking force, is possessing a quarterback fully in sync when action takes place. Now you are seeing why there's such great synchronization with the Kirk Cousins and why we were seeing some great signs with Sam Darnold. It is for just why he performs his best with people with those sorts of approaches. Sean McVays of the world and coaches Shanahans have consistently wanted Kirk Cousins around because they get how they operate. They can go ahead and execute the strategies, plays as they are designed and get things accomplished at a really incredible level. Other quarterbacks who are also excellent tend to have other strengths, although execution isn't one. One asks the question, just what is going on? It will be interesting from here. But here were my considerations. What do you all think when considering just how much the Kyler needs to prove to all of us? Can he do right here in Minnesota? Is it going to be worth anything? And therefore I want to ask the Minnesota Viking fans, where is your confidence when you see your team, or perhaps from the organization? Want to win something big? Or content with just maybe getting there, just winning a few games in the playoffs is sufficient to have you pleased? Should we desire to move into the NFC Championship series of events with full steam and enthusiasm? Just what things have to come together for us? Over the course of the past years, what sort of thoughts come to your mind? Let us know what this brings up for you in the comments just below. You will find that these are never missed. So you should consider both perspectives here. Just have some real conversation to have here. Be sure to subscribe so that great things can begin. See yourself well connected with any type of message there. Show excitement, as we're getting those pieces in place over each one of these areas as we continue on. A recommendation of giving a positive message would also be wonderful. Thank you all. There so that we all can continue our journey together. Look to that.